Okay, welcome back to Obituary. I'm Spencer Henry.
And I'm Madison Reyes.
And we are here, and we are going to do our show just as we do every Thursday. Nothing different about that.
52 times a year, just about.
Just about. Maybe 51.
Yeah, maybe we take a
take a Christmas break.
Or maybe we almost die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've taken probably 3 weeks off.
Yeah. Damn.
In 3 years.
So, birthday boy.
Oops, I'm a year older. Surprise.
Surprise.
Get in here a little more.
Who, me?
Yeah, come on over. Yes, I had my birthday party this last weekend, which was so much fun.
So much fun. Such a good group.
A good group.
The pizza was so good. The cookies were immaculate.
Oh.
And the movie theater setup that you had in the backyard was pristine.
If you're watching on YouTube, we'll input a little picture of it.
A little picture of it.
It was so much fun. I had so much fun just getting ready for it. And then it was really a fun night. Yeah.
It was a good night.
Pizza company, we had someone come cook pizzas in the backyard, and they were like this sourdough crust. It was so good.
So good.
And then
I took the salad home and ate it this week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, they made extra pizzas and left them, and then they had 2 big salads left. And I was like, none of my friends are gonna eat these salads.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Madison was leaving, I was like, please
Meal prep
it.
Yeah.
Take it.
Which, with the way groceries are going, honey, I'll take anything.
The
free.
price of everything.
Everything.
Oh my God. Let's see what I have on my notes here. Oh, we watched Death Becomes Her also.
We did.
That was the movie for my movie night, because I was trying to find a movie that came out in 91, and Death Becomes Her came out in 92. So the way I rationed that was like, well, it was filmed probably in 92.
Yeah, and God, it's just the best. I could watch that and rewatch that
a million times.
I love it.
It's so good. But also everyone kept looking at us like,
everybody kept pointing at us like, that's you two. Like, that's Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn. Like, that's you two. And we were laughing like, damn, they really think that we're just some bimbos that want to live forever.
And we are. Wait, why'd I screenshot this DM today? Bitch, I listened to Obituary for years religiously and painted my own picture of what you and Madison look like. First time looking you up. You are a hottie. Love that for you. Love you guys. Just had to share, LOL. And that was from a girl named Kimberly. So G off Kimberly, if you're listening, just know that we love being
You know what?
told that.
Anything physical is just gonna gas us up. Leave out, oh, you're so smart and da-da-da-da.
Honey, who needs brains? Okay, I'm trying to get a rack.
Yeah.
Oh, Casey Anthony is in her comeback era.
Are
Did you see
fucking
that?
Kidding me? Yes, I saw that. She really thought that she could come onto TikTok.
Welcome back, Casey.
She has gotten roasted, thankfully.
Oh, I know. Well, and you know what? I'm so happy is that she brought out the Nancy Grace.
Did Nancy Grace come out?
Oh yeah, she's like top mom. Yeah,
Damn.
I loved back in the day watching Nancy Grace during that era, because she would
still has a show.
Well, yeah, but she would be on there and she'd just be like,
I know.
Listen,
I know.
Top mom, we know what you did, and we're gonna find Kaylee. Like, she would just fucking go in, and I lived for it.
I know. She is a character. I mean, her boyfriend was murdered or something, or her husband, and so she gets so fucking heated.
She gets fired the fuck up, and I would credit her with my career, honestly.
Nancy Grace?
Part of it, probably. Yeah, probably wanting to talk about these things. Yeah, I'll credit her. Not fully.
Are you kidding me?
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, another fuck-ass mom.
Lori Vallow.
Lori Vallow, I saw tomorrow night.
She's going to be on Dateline. Yes.
She looks rode hard, put away wet.
Did you see her when she was in the little clip they posted, the promotional clip? And she's like,
Keith. Okay,
yes, Keith. Girl, and her eyebrows look fucking wild.
Okay, but a third fuck-ass mom, Ruby Frankie. I watched the 3-part series, and I was
good.
Horrified.
So good. So horrific. How about Jodie Hildebrandt being fucking possessed? Well, I was telling you at my party that someone called into the cult leader hotline
Mhm.
and they work at the prison. Did I
That
not
they're
tell you
at?
that? Yeah.
Maybe you did. I don't remember.
Yeah. And was just saying that they are atrocious.
I was yelling at the TV. I was like, everybody around them, all their friends, the husband. I'm like, you guys are all assholes.
Yeah.
The husband is brainwashed, but I don't feel sorry for him. He needs to get right with everything because at the end, he's like, I see this as more of a story of true love. And I was like, are
Oh,
you fucking
please.
kidding
My
me?
God. Everyone's just so fucking deranged. And you have to wonder, like, when you watch things sometimes and you hear about people that are involved in certain situations, you're just like, are people really that fucking stupid?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also some like blindfully stupid, you know, like
They just really don't know.
or they choose to not know.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I
Like,
mean?
turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
God.
Hmm.
I saw a meme the other day
Uh huh.
and I wrote it down. I should have screamed.
Writing down a meme is wild.
That is boomer. It said, imagine you die and they kick you out of the group chat.
Oh, I would.
Really?
Yeah, you're out of here. I don't know who's going to have that number next.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe just start a new one. I feel like kicking them out is kind of mean.
Care. Here's the door.
God.
Here's the door, bitch. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Speaking of kind of along those lines, I'm curious. I actually wanted input from the Geoffs on something that we were talking about yesterday.
What were we talking about?
Seeing people that you're friends with like things online that you are like, how could you
Morally
support
opposed
that?
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Curious what you guys think. Like, if you, okay, say you had a really good friend and they're lovely in so many ways, and this isn't even political. This is not political. Well, I guess kind of.
it is, but yeah.
Say you just adore this person and you see them liking something that is like,
So morally not on
Yeah.
the same page as you. Is it a mistake? Did they accidentally?
like, do you ask them? Like, I guess we were wondering because this happened with one of our friends, and
Mhm.
we were like, should we talk to them about this?
We were like thrown back, like, oh.
Because it's not just something like I have friends that have different belief systems than me in so many different ways. And I'm not
yeah.
somebody who I'm like, oh, I cut out everyone who doesn't think the same way as me. I just don't do that. But when it comes to this specific situation, it was like something that was just it was just ugly.
Yeah. And there, you know what? Yeah. I know. I can get along with everybody, I think, like, as for the most part.
Yeah, I mean,
With, like,
obviously this is a
beliefs.
very layered, we're being very general here.
Very vague. But there are certain things that you're like, oh, I can't. There's no way I
Like-
can agree with this or see your side. Like, it just,
Fundamentally,
Yeah.
if it goes against what you believe in and what you know that person to be like.
Right, because they're great in every other way and have been such a great friend. And it's like almost a little heartbreaking. Like, oh, okay.
That's the thing too about social media where I'm like, fuck, I wish I couldn't, I just didn't see what people liked or like.
Yeah, but then it's also kind of good because you can make those judgments. I don't know.
Actually true, yeah, because then it's telling. Yeah, I guess that's me wanting to turn a blind eye to it. I'm just generally curious because I'm not really scared of confrontation, but in those situations I'm always like, do I confront this person and say, hey, I saw you liked this.
Well, sometimes you don't want to confront things because you don't want to know the answer. Because what if the answer is, yeah, I absolutely liked it and I absolutely agree with that?
Well, then I have to end that friendship.
I know. So it's like, ooh,
What do I do? Yeah. Okay, interesting. I'm just
Yeah.
curious to hear if you want to leave in the comments on Instagram or YouTube, like, would you or would you not confront something like a situation like that? Like a friend liking something that is just like very much against your beliefs.
Yeah. And all of our friends better go back and look at what they've liked.
Yeah. It's a warning.
Warning. They're like, all you like is stupid memes.
I know.
Okay. And that's
No, you don't like that.
That's alarming.
You write them down.
I write them down. Yeah.
It's not even safe to save things. You just gotta fucking write them down.
Well, sometimes you and I send the most diabolical shit to each other, and I'm so nervous that I accidentally post it on my story.
Me too. It's like an OCD thing. I'm like, I'll like be going to bed, and I'm like, did I just post that on my story?
Oh, I know. God.
Well, there's wild shit on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Bloop.
Very much so. So we asked for your advice. Now we're going to give advice.
Yeah, with some Am I the Assholes. Thank you for that beautiful transition, Madison. Okay.
Okay.
So, this first one says, Am I the asshole for telling my friend to stop preaching toward me? Here goes. I've been close friends with this person for almost 30 years. To give an idea, she and I started working together in '98, and we hung out a lot. Went to the funerals of lost family members together, and needless to say, she was my BFF and a sister of sorts. She became something of a born-again Christian, even though I saw her more of an armchair Christian because she only seemed to follow the word of God when it suited her. She still cursed, made off-color jokes and comments, etc., but was on social media talking about God and referring to herself as a prayer warrior. I, on the other hand, am not religious in any way. I suppose you might refer to me as an atheist. She would send me private messages with religious quotes and memes now and then, and when I asked her to stop, she told me that God wanted her to. And then 2 days ago, she and I were discussing the death of Dolly Parton's husband. I expressed a concern for Dolly herself, and the following exchange happened. Her. All we can do is pray for her to have God's peace that surpasses all understanding. Me. We don't have the same beliefs. Her. Which is sad, because then you will never be able to see your mother again. Have you thought about that? I'm just honest, 100%.
That's when I would have clocked the bitch.
Me. Then let me be honest 100%. I've told you in the past to stop preaching to me, so please stop. Her. How is telling you all we can do is pray for her preaching? Goodbye and God bless. I'm out. Have a nice life. Immediately after that, she unfriended and blocked me, ending a near 30-year friendship because I wanted her to stop preaching toward me. I might even have ignored the rest until she brought up my deceased mother.
That's foul.
Am I the asshole for telling my longtime friend to stop preaching towards me?
Absolutely fucking not. Your friend is an asshole.
An asshole. And not respecting. Like, that's like also what I don't get, because I don't have a super strong belief system. Well, I mean, I have my own belief system. I'm very spiritual as a person. And
when you have your own code of ethics that are very strong and that could fit into, for the most part, be a good fucking person, do unto others
as you
wouldn't do or something, one of those things.
You know what we're fucking saying. But like, I have so many friends from different, like, that have different faiths and belief systems. Like I was just saying.
I'm sure we have a lot of listeners that have different faiths and belief systems, and we respect.
I love to sit and talk, but I love to talk about it. Like I had a friend over who I haven't seen in such a long time recently, and she was talking about, the church that she goes to, and she was talking about, all her beliefs, and I'm like, I don't agree with you on that, but I agree with you on this, blah, blah, blah. Not like that. It was very much like, oh, I kind of think blah, 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 or I kind of think, and it's just kind of fun to talk. Like, I don't mind at all discussing. But, like, if someone's, regardless of what it is, like, you shouldn't be pushing your beliefs onto others if they ask you not to.
Yeah, and I think that feels like this person was threatened. Like, you're not going to believe me? Well, I need to get you out of my life then. Like, if you really, truly believe in something and wholeheartedly believe in it, it doesn't matter if I believe it or not or disagree.
Like, it shouldn't bother you, basically. Except for us, because we have to have the same beliefs in everything.
Yes.
The second one says, am I the asshole if I don't take care of the kids, ... Hey all, am I the asshole if I don't take care of my brother's kids? Long story, but here we go. I'm a male, 35, and I live across the country from where my brother lives. My brother told me he has me down to take care of his kids if him or his wife were to ever pass, and he doesn't and didn't like how our mother raised us. I told him no, they will be put in foster care if you put me down as the person to watch them. Not sure if this is how it works. I do not want kids at all. I love my life. I love having disposable income, and I go on trips and I do what I want and when I want. I don't want the responsibility of kids. Caring for myself is enough. My mom and brother are both telling me I'm the asshole for not agreeing to this. I personally think I'm in my right to refuse to not want to raise children. My niece is 3 and my nephew is 7. Since I live across the country, I don't really have contact with the kids, kind of by choice, but also because I work over 60 hours a week and me time I want to spend on me and what I want to do. Keep in mind, my brother and sister-in-law don't call or anything. Phone goes both ways.
Mm.
Random thought. I have both my niece and nephew down as my 401k and life insurance recipients.
Mm.
So while it's not huge, they should be splitting that money in my death. I also purchased swimming and gymnastic classes for both kids, as that is what my brother said he wants them to do, and it's the classes that we couldn't afford.
Mm.
So am I the asshole for not wanting to raise my niece and nephew in the event of something going horribly wrong?
I don't think you are. And I really value the honesty of like, I want to be selfish. I like my disposable income. I don't want to have to worry. And yeah, in a perfect world, of course, you would want your sibling to drop everything and be there for your
Yeah.
child. Of course.
But I wouldn't want my children going to this, but like,
No,
why
and now
are
you
you
know.
pushing it? Like, he
Yeah.
said he doesn't want to do it. Why are they being like, oh, you're an asshole, just agree to it?
Yeah. No.
If someone said like, oh, I wouldn't want to take care of your kids if you died, I'd be like, okay, cool, off the list.
Yeah.
you
The
know?
only thing is that would piss me off is, oh, they'll end up in foster care if you
Yeah, don't
if you
say
assign-
that.
Don't say that
Don't
shit.
say that, girl. No.
But
Not the asshole.
no, I really value the honesty. I really do.
I feel like that's been coming up a lot. Like people, because like we've talked recently, I feel like about people choosing to be child free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like if that is the decision that someone's making, then I respect their decision. Like Jesus,
Mhm.
everyone just needs to fucking respect each other's beliefs, I guess.
Yeah, but
Cut to us being
cut
like,
to us talking about how we're not respecting that person's belief.
yeah, but they're wrong.
Well, no, we can respect it, but just not condone it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just this one situation in our life that's been bothering us,
I
and
know.
we've been talking about it in circles. So I'm wondering what you guys do. That's
don't
why
know
we
what
keep
to
bringing it
do.
up. Yeah.
Well, I have a listener email, and I think that it is appropriate because it has been so gloomy and stormy.
Okay, let's hear it.
We got an email, and the subject intrigued me. It said, "Dancing on graves, bodies and trees." And I thought, I gotta open that. I can't wait to read. Hi, Madison, Spencer, and all the furry co-hosts. I'm a somewhat new listener working my way through your backlog. Have you seen us? Woo! Okay. Obituary has gotten me through the winter blues and the aftermath of losing a loved one, so thank you for that. The two of you always manage to get me to laugh, and I adore your friendship and banter.
Touch me.
Anyway, as I was listening to your most recent episode that mentioned the foot falling onto a casket in New Jersey, it made me wonder if you heard about the New Haven Green in Connecticut and the skeletal remains that became exposed when an old tree fell after Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Which, by the way, in my backyard, there are bones I have found. Have I told you this?
Yeah.
Have I showed you the pictures?
Uh-huh.
There are bones.
Yeah.
And there's a big tree.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
Remember we talked about the hurricanes?
Yes, but I don't think we talked about this story. I remember you talked about like the floods.
Yeah, like flooded cemeteries.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
wild. The New Haven Green was used as the burial grounds for the city for over 150 years until the early 1820s. The headstones were eventually moved to a cemetery nearby, but the 5,000 plus bodies were left in place. The grounds were leveled and the land became the City Green, which now hosts music and art festivals, parades, and the annual Christmas tree lighting celebration.
Wow, I love a Christmas tree celebration.
Love it. In 2012, the winds of Hurricane Sandy caused a lot of tree damage in the area, including knocking over a tree along the green. Discovered tangled in the roots of the 100-year-old tree were skeletal remains. It was eventually determined the remains came from two people from the 1700s who most likely perished during an outbreak of either yellow fever or smallpox. Also, nearby in the center church crypt that houses a very small portion of the original burial grounds and its headstones in its basement, though I feel like I might have heard it mentioned on an episode here before, I could be wrong. I'll attach some articles below. Sorry if you've heard about or spoke of this before. I'm still catching up. Thanks for all that you do. Love you guys, Lynn. No, I don't
Aw.
think we've heard the New Haven one.
I don't think so. I don't know if we talked about that before.
Imagine a tree blowing over and imagine a tree kind of growing through you or around your remains.
Cool. Honestly.
Very green.
Yeah. Sustainable.
Eco-friendly.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of.
What?
I have no transition for this one.
Well, I'm up first this week, which means you should have a little side bitch for us.
I do. And my side bitch this week is none other than Carl Dean.
Oh.
Had to do it.
I've been seeing so many sweet things.
I went through several different obituaries that were published for him because I wanted to find my favorite one, and that one is from knoxnews.com, Knoxville News. And it says, quote, "Rarely seen, Carl Dean was the man who stood by Dolly Parton's side as her partner and biggest supporter for 60 years.
Wow.
Parton's husband has died. He was 82. Dean died March 3rd in Nashville," Parton announced on her social media accounts. Dean was a Nashville native, born to Edgar Ed Henry Dean and Virginia Ginny Bates Dean. The couple married in 1966 and had no children. Dean was a private man, so private that many have long wondered if he actually existed. He rarely walked a red carpet, made an appearance at a premiere, or attended a show business function. But he did exist, and the deep love and respect he showed his wife was instrumental to Parton's perseverance and success throughout her career. Parton told Knox News in 2024, "There's always that safety, that security, that strength," she said of being with Dean. "He's a good man, and we've had a good life, and he's been a good husband." Dean never wanted to be in the spotlight. One night at an award show in 1966 was enough to convince him that the glitz and glam was not for him. After the event, Dean told his new wife, "I love you, and I will support you in your career any way I can, but I am not going to any more of these wingdings," Parton revealed in her 1994 autobiography. From then on, he stayed in the shadows and opted to focus on his own real estate dealings and tended to the couple's Nashville ranch, all while shooing away pesky reporters. He never wanted any part of that, never did any interviews. He would just run like a scalded dog. If somebody said, "Are you Carl Dean? Can you answer a few questions?" "No, I don't answer questions," Parton told Knox News while imitating Dean.
I love that.
But Parton shared glimpses of her mysterious husband and their marriage throughout her career in interviews, on social media, and in her music. Jolene, one of Parton's signature songs, is partly based on a bank teller who flirted with Dean. She wrote, "Just because I'm a woman," after Dean expressed disappointment she'd been with other men before they were married. Dean is also featured on the cover of her album, My Blue Ridge Mountain Boy. Dean also was the inspiration behind other songs, including From Here to the Moon and Back, Forever Love, Say Forever You'll Be Mine, and Tomorrow is Forever. And to honor the never-ending love and support of her husband, a special section was dedicated to him at the Dolly Parton Experience Museum in Dollywood, which opened in 2024. "He would have never allowed me to do even that. I didn't even tell him I'm doing it. I'm just doing it," Parton told Knox News at the time, but I think he deserves his own little spot. An 18-year-old Dolly Parton met Carl Dean in 1964 on the very first day she moved to Nashville, eager to start her career in country music. She was leaving the wishy-washy laundromat when 21-year-old Dean waved and spoke to her, and their love story began. "My first thought was, I'm gonna marry that girl. My second thought was, Lord, she's good looking," Dean recalled in 2016 after the couple renewed their vows for their 50th wedding anniversary. "And that was the day my life began. I wouldn't trade the last 50 years for nothing on this earth."
Oh.
The couple began dating, but Dean soon enlisted in the military and served in the National Guard during the Vietnam era for 2 years, but never went overseas. When he returned to Nashville, Parton's career was just taking off. Because her record label didn't want her married, the couple secretly wed in Ringgold, Georgia in 1966 to keep their nuptials out of Nashville papers. The couple remained together since that chance meeting at Wishy Washy Laundromat, privately enjoying each other at home and often taking trips in their RV. "If I had to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again," Parton wrote in a statement for their 50th anniversary.
Oh,
So sweet.
I love that. I love that you don't really, you didn't know him.
I love a man who doesn't need to be like, I want to be in the spotlight. too."
Yeah. I think that's so sweet.
Yeah. Because, I mean, she's just such a fucking icon. And
Yeah.
he's always been just such kind of a mystery. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
My heart goes out to her, you know?
Yeah. Sweet
Sad.
Dolly.
I know.
We love her. And we need to go to Dollywood.
We do. I would love to.
Shocked we haven't. We should plan a trip.
We should. I have a Dollywood coffee mug that someone brought me from Dollywood.
Well, we'll go look at some flights, and while we do that, we're going to put you on a quick break. And when we come back, Madison's going to tell us what had her spinning in her coffin this week.
Alrighty.
We'll be right back. And we're back. What had you spinning in your coffin this week, girly?
Geoffs, if there's one thing that should go smoothly, this feels like a newscast.
Uh-huh.
If there's one thing that should go smoothly in life, it should be your final goodbyes to people, right?
Madison, you're so right.
Good.
Good, very good.
Line. Well, as we know pretty damn well, as we've seen throughout history, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes things go just downright wrong. So today I thought I would give you guys kind of a listy episode, a listy coffin spinner about everything from funeral mishaps to hearse disasters to burial fuck-ups. I mean, I know we cover quite a bit of them, but these are ones we haven't heard.
Okay.
Okay. And you know, every week I just thank God things can't get worse.
Uh-huh.
And they just do.
Oh, inevitable.
Shit just flies off the handle.
Ugh.
It's all catawampus and awful.
Catawampus?
Okay. I want to start off kind of funny.
Oh, I'm ready to laugh.
Hee ha ha, kind of funny. Okay, so Andrew Jackson, our 7th U.S. president. Do you know him?
Yes, we talked about him in the president episode I did.
Uh-oh. Andrew died in 1845 of congestive heart failure at age 78, and he died in his home in Nashville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
His funeral was a few days after, and thousands of people showed up to pay their respects or just to be nosy. He apparently wanted a pretty quiet and peaceful funeral and service and burial, which he kind of got, except for he owned a parrot named Poll, spelt like P-O-L-L, but nickname was Polly. So I don't know if it was Paul or Poll.
Okay.
Which is appropriate for a parrot, like Polly want a cracker, right?
Yep, I
Okay.
like where your head's at.
I guess he had her for almost 20 years and just loved this bird, like loved her. And she loved him back. So she was a guest at his funeral and caused quite the disturbance. She had to be removed because she wouldn't stop cussing loudly. Well, now let's move on to a police chase. Okay. In 2021, there was a high-speed police chase in Chula Vista, California.
Okay.
A black Nissan Pathfinder was driving down Route 94 when a cop tried to pull him over. The driver had felony warrants and was like, nope, I am not going to pull over, and instead took the police on a chase. He was on the freeway. He was in neighborhoods and just a fucking menace.
Oh, we would have loved to watch that on the
Oh
news.
my God. Whatever happened to that? I feel like,
We were really into watching police chases for a while.
well, I feel like there used to always be them, and now, I don't know. You know, like when it would be like breaking news.
Yeah.
I guess we don't have like regular cable.
Wait, this is so fucking wild. So last night, Fox News was on, and in the corner of the TV, it had a viewer count. It said like 100,000 or 80,000 people watching, like a live, like in the corner.
Weird.
Isn't that wild?
Was it on like real?
Yeah, it was like,
cable?
yeah.
Was it on YouTube?
No,
Oh,
it was real.
weird.
Yeah, it was like just on my TV.
Shit.
I know.
I've been used to the stock market being there, the counter,
Oh, yeah.
and it plummeting. Okay, so he was a fucking menace. Then he sees a church, and it's actually the most precious blood Catholic church, to be exact, and decided to pull over and make a run for it.
What a wild name for a church.
I know. Creepy.
Okay, vampires.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he makes a run for it. He runs inside of the church to try to get away from the police. But what he didn't know was that there was a funeral for an 11-year-old boy happening.
Oh, no.
Terrible. The church was full of 200 people, including a lot of the 11-year-old boy's friends and family. And
So this guy's just fucking running, booking it through there?
yes, booking it through there. He goes up to the altar and people are running out. Like, what the fuck? And no article said whether it was like an open casket or if the casket was there. But this guy ran up to the altar and started. Some reports say he starts praying. Some reports say he's just mumbling. There's video of people running out of this funeral and then the police running in after him and end up arresting him. But how fucking horrendous. The little boy died of cancer. He was 11 years old.
If somebody ran in to my child's funeral doing that, it'd be their funeral next.
I know.
Bet that.
Hell yeah. Oh, God. Okay. This next one's wild, Spencer. It has to do with beer at a funeral.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
Okay. It's wild, though. So there was a funeral in January of 2015 in Mozambique. Mozambique is a country in Africa. They have this funeral tradition there to serve pombe, which is a local home brewed beer that is commonly used in funeral rites. It's like here we serve red wine at church. Like theirs is this beer.
Okay.
Okay. I looked into what the beer was, and it's like either made from millet or corn flour, and it's like an opaque kind of white alcohol. Anyway, it's something that's often served at funerals. Well, the funeral was sadly for a newborn baby, and the mother prepared the pombe for the funeral. And there were hundreds of attendees. There were guests who came in the morning. They drank the alcohol and didn't have any issues with it. Then after a church service in the afternoon, there was like a second round of people that came and they drank the alcohol in the afternoon. Those that did started experiencing severe diarrhea, vomiting, and intense muscle pain. Soon, 196 people ended up in the hospital.
What the fuck?
Okay.
This reminds me of that cake from the holidays.
I wrote that in here. They had some kind of food poisoning, but 69 of those people died, including the grieving mother. This thing has its own Wikipedia page.
69 people
69.
died.
Some reports say 75.
Jesus.
All died from drinking
Oh my
that
God.
drink. A tragedy. But there are many theories about this. So authorities suspected that the pombe had been poisoned with, and I'm going to butcher this type of acid, boncrecic acid. And this is super interesting because that type of acid comes from a crocodile gallbladder.
And that was in the drink.
That's what they suspected. I read in theguardian.com this whole thing about this story, and it said, quote, when a crocodile is killed, its gallbladder must be immediately removed and buried in front of witnesses to stop the bile being used as a poison. I guess people will use crocodile gallbladder as poison.
I was at the boot barn the other night.
Okay.
And they had these boots
Crocodile
that were
boots?
crocodile, and he's like, feel those and like try and bend it. And it was so stiff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Scary. According to some African traditions, the deadly greenish-brown liquid is now believed to have been put into traditional beer that killed mourners on Saturday. But then there were other theories that maybe it was like a toxin that came from this flower called a foxglove. But by November 2015, and this is where I say this reminds me a lot of that Christmas cake story, I guess the culprit was a flood that contaminated the flower.
That is exactly allegedly like that cake thing.
I know. And this
How
happened
bizarre.
just in 2015.
I don't know. That sounds suspicious to me.
So sad.
Yeah.
But at first I was like, yeah, I'm like, maybe the mom was grieving so much that she's like, I'm taking everybody with me.
We're all going to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know. Scary.
Interesting.
Okay, so this next funeral mishap is my absolute worst nightmare. In 2019 in Australia, a funeral service had to be stopped halfway through. Why? Because as they were lowering the casket into the ground, funeral goers noticed that there was a huge, venomous, red-bellied black snake that was in the grave.
Oh, you would hate that.
Hate it. These snakes grow between 5 and 7 feet long, and they're venomous. So they had to call a reptile guy out and stop the funeral. And Newsweek.com reported on it and says, quote, snake catcher Corey Carraro arrived at the site and started digging around the grave to find the serpent. He spotted it at the bottom of the ladder going into the ground. Stepping in, he grabbed the serpent by the tail and held it away from him before putting it into a bag so the service could be proceeded as normal. It was then released into nearby bushland. They go on and say, I received a phone call from the funeral saying there was a snake. Carraro told Daily Mail Australia. They were in a service and they had already began lowering the casket but had to pull it back up. It certainly held the service up for a little bit.
Damn.
Wouldn't that be terrible?
Yes.
God. Okay, but not as terrible as this next one. This mishap, incident, terrible thing. I don't use the word mishap lightly. By the way, I don't want you guys to think that.
You know if Madison's saying mishap, that she means fucking business, okay?
I mean, it's terrible. Okay, so in 2019 at Bellevue Cemetery in Lawrence, Massachusetts, there was the funeral of Andrew Serrano being held on April 5th, and something absolutely terrible happened. As they were lowering his casket into his grave, one of the straps broke on the casket lowering device, and the casket plummeted into the grave. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, it plummeted so violently that it broke, and
Did he fall out?
fell out of it.
Damn.
And his family reported that he was oozing liquid.
Oh, like a cracked egg.
Oh my God. In front of his grieving family, everyone was absolutely hysterical, obviously. The burial had to be halted. And I mean, they're not just going to put dirt on top.
At that point, why not?
Well, they weren't having it. They took him out, halted the burial. He was buried a couple days later.
Did they scoop the goop and throw it back in the coffin?
Scoop the goop. No, the coffin is in shambles.
Oh, shambles. I forgot. Sorry.
Well, they're in a lawsuit right now. They're suing.
Oh.
Which, fuck yeah, I don't blame you.
I would sue pretty much anyone for anything. So, yeah. All for it. I have and I will.
He's litigious. He is litigious.
I am my grandfather's grandson.
I love it. Okay. This one, some of you may have heard me talk about at a very special live show, but I could not keep this out, and it's way too short to have its own coffin spinner, so I thought I would include it. Do you know what I'm talking about? It includes involves a helicopter.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I feel like everybody needs to hear this.
Yes, absolutely.
So in 1967, an Irish woman named Mary Folan passed away from cancer at the age of 56.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at because I know what's going to happen.
The story's wild. She moved to the U.S. in the 1920s, but her dying wish was to be buried back on her island near Galway, Ireland. So when she passed, and I'll put a picture of this whole thing while you're watching. So when she passed, her body and coffin were flown to the Shannon Airport in Ireland. But to get to the island that she grew up on, you could only access it via boat. Well, the only problem with that is that they would have to cross some very treacherous sea at that time of year. So instead of, I don't know, maybe waiting, keeping her refrigerated, maybe, trying to make the safest decision as possible.
Yeah.
Her family decides that actually the best way to get her to this island is to have her airlifted via helicopter from the Shannon Airport. And when I think of that, I think, okay, put the the coffin in the helicopter.
Sure.
No, they're going to use straps and dangle it from the helicopter, like right at the base of the helicopter. So they do that. The helicopter takes off with Mary, and it's looking good. Mary's wish is getting fulfilled. She will finally be able to rest easy in her homeland. Wrong. A few miles into the flight, one side of the sling gives way, and Mary's coffin takes an unplanned detour into a nearby field. Just awful. But it does show, like, her coffin was very strong.
Yeah, durable.
Very durable. But the other one, breaking off into the grave, was not.
Weak.
You need to get your money back.
Yeah.
And, Mary was fine. Like, she was dead, but she was, like, her body was intact.
Okay.
Instead of taking this as, like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do it this way, her family and the pilots are like, no, we're going to do it again, but we're just going to, like, change a couple things. So they put her in a new, lighter coffin. Pilots run a successful test flight with a box of similar weight and confidently take off again. Surely nothing could go wrong this time, right?
Right.
Wrong.
Oh, my God.
And this time they were over the ocean, and what do you know it? Mary's coffin plummets straight into the sea, floats for a little while. Oh, I bet they would have wished it was the Salish Sea.
Oh.
Floated onto shore.
Yep.
It eventually sunk. They lost sight of it. And after days and days of searching with no luck, a priest comes out and blesses the water where her coffin was last seen. And she was never seen again.
Talk about a burial at sea.
While I was researching this coffin spinner, so many incidences with horses came up, like a horse-drawn carriage and like a horse taking off.
Okay.
So, pulled two from the newspaper. This is from Coventry Evening Telegraph, 1914. It says, Tamworth funeral mishap. A distressing mishap occurred at a funeral at Tamsworth on Wednesday. A hearse containing a coffin and drawn by a pair of horses was proceeding down Upper Gungate to the parish church when one of the horses bolted, through, it is believed, being stung. Being stung by a bee.
Oh, my God.
The vehicle proceeded at a rapid rate down Lower Gungate, where it was brought to a standstill. Being early closing day, there was little traffic in the streets. The hearse was only slightly damaged, and the funeral, though delayed, was carried out without further trouble. Okay, but this next one is from the Manchester Courier and Lancashire General Advertiser from 1913. I will not read the whole thing because it's very long.
Okay.
Basically, the headline says buried alive. And then it says horses engulfed in cemetery.
Oh, my God. Engulfed.
Painful funeral mishap. Basically, it was a funeral procession and a horse-drawn carriage or a horse-drawn hearse. Okay? They're walking down. All of a sudden, 3 or 4 horses sink into the
ground.
earth.
Oh, my God.
3 of them gone. The 4th one died under a bunch of rubble. And I think the hearse almost sunk too.
Jesus.
Isn't that insane?
Yes.
So there you have it.
Oh, my God.
Some funeral mishaps. I so apologize if you had done Andrew Jackson.
Can you write it in your notes and post it on your story?
Yeah,
A
I
formal
will.
apology.
I will. I totally will.
Okay. Well, oh, my God. Fascinating. And it just shows.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe.
Shit can go wrong. I mean, I wrote about in the book about my grandma's funeral and the coffin.
An obituary, the big hot book of death.
Mm-hmm.
You did. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you what had me screaming in my coffin this week.
Ooh, okay.
We'll be right back.
And we're back. Spencer, what had you spinning in your coffin this week? I mean, screaming in your coffin this week?
Okay, girly and Geoffs. This week I was screaming in my coffin because I learned all about the Screaming Skulls of London.
What?
Okay, UK Geoffs, I hope this pleases you, and I also hope I don't butcher pronunciations.
Okay.
The Screaming Skulls are like this paranormal phenomenon that are deeply rooted in British folklore.
I feel like I might have seen some like ah
Okay.
like that.
You've seen
Is
a
that
scream. Yeah, that's a scream.
okay? Okay.
Okay, so picture it, Geoffs. It's a dark and stormy night in London. And as you walk home on this foggy night, you can't help but feel that there's something watching you from beyond the mist. As you
Mm.
continue on through the fog, you stumble upon a human skull.
Mm.
This is odd. Is it real? You pick it up, you tuck it under your arm, and as you continue walking,
What?
you, you start to hear a muffled scream.
What?
Only to realize the screams are coming from the skull. You never should have moved it from its resting place, for now you will be terrorized and you'll be met with misfortune for the rest of your pitiful days.
Oh my god.
Okay, so since 1897, there has been talk of these screaming skulls in London, and a lot of legends have stories about like a skull being removed from a home and then the home collapsing afterwards. Or somebody moves a skull and shortly after they meet an eerie demise of their own.
Okay.
That year, in 1897, this book was released by John Henry Ingram, who was my great-great-grandfather. He wasn't. Allegedly. Anyway, the book was titled The Haunted Homes and Family Traditions of Great Britain. And I actually found a PDF transcript of this book from 1897 on the Internet Archive. And about halfway through, it discusses the screaming skull of Bettiscombe, which is probably the most famous screaming skull in history.
So it's literally a skull. Is it like that?
Let me
or-
explain.
Okay,
So it's kind of
okay.
like a ghost story. I'm going to read you what he wrote in the book and then I'll elaborate a little bit more. But it says, quote, "There is a certain old farmstead known as Bettiscombe or Bettiscombe House, a parish of the same name, about 6 miles from Bridport in Dorsetshire. This ancient dwelling, which is still inhabited, is celebrated for the so-called screaming skull that it contains. There are various versions of the cause and consequences of the malign influence exercised by this relic of humanity. Mr. William Andrews, in his essay on skull superstitions, states that the peculiar superstition attaching to the Bettiscombe skull is that if he brought it out of the house itself would rock to its foundations, while the perpetrator of such an act of desecration would certainly die within the year."
A little curse.
Uh-huh. "Various changes of tenancy and furniture have been made in the old homestead," says Mr. Andrews, "but the skull holds its place. It is not known when the ghastly tenant first took up its abode in the place, but it has been there for a considerable period." And again, this is in 1897 when he's writing this.
Okay.
"The legend was that it belonged to a faithful servant of an early possessor of the property," but by faithful servant, they absolutely mean like an enslaved person, "who, having lived abroad for some time, brought home this memento of his humble follower." So let me just break that down really quick because it's a little confusing in the text because the book is from fucking 1897. But basically, the owner of the house took the skull of the person he had enslaved and kept it in his home.
Okay.
So we got a little racist
Awful.
backstory
Yeah.
in this version of the story. There's also a lot of language in that book that I would not repeat, so I
Yeah.
had to omit some stuff. But the book basically goes on to say that in August of 1883, so 4 years before this book was released, Dr. Richard Garnett of the British Museum, his daughter, and a friend of theirs, whilst staying at Charmouth, about 7 or 8 miles from Bettiscombe, heard reports about the skull and its strange performances, and they decided that they were going to pay it a visit. The result of their expedition is thus told by Miss Garnett, which is Dr. Richard Garnett, his daughter.
Okay.
Quote, "One fine afternoon, a party of 3 adventurous spirits started off hoping to discover the skull and investigate its history. This much we knew, that the skull would only scream when it was buried, and so we hoped to get leave to inter it in the churchyard.
Okay.
The village of Bettiscombe was at length reached, and we found our way to the old farmhouse, which stood at the end of the village itself. It had evidently become a manor house, and a very handsome one too. We were admitted into a fine paved hall and attempted to break the ice by asking for milk." So this little crew goes there, they ask for milk, and then they were endeavored to draw the good woman of the house into conversation by admiring her place and asking in a guarded manner about this famous skull. On this subject, She was most reserved. She had only lately taken the farmhouse and had been obliged to take possession of the skull also. But she did not wish us to suppose that she knew much about it. It was a veritable skeleton in the closet to her.
Mm.
After exercising great diplomacy, we persuaded her to allow us a sight of it, which is crazy, honestly, that they just rolled up to this person's house. They're like, hey, we heard you got
Can
a
we have
skull
some
here.
milk?
Yeah. We tramped up the fine old staircase till we reached the top of the house, and when opening a cupboard door, she showed us a steep, winding staircase leading to the roof. And from one of the steps, the skull sat grinning at us. We took it in our hands and examined it carefully. It was very old and weather-beaten, and certainly human. The lower jaw was missing, the forehead was low, and one of our party was a medical student who examined it gravely. After first telling the good woman that he was a doctor, pronounced it to be, in his opinion, the skull of a man. After this oracular utterance, she resolved to make a clean breast of all she knew, which I think is like another way of saying got it off her chest. Like she decided that at this point, like, I'm going to tell them everything I know about this skull.
Okay, come clean, lady.
Basically, I broke it down in layman's terms. Basically, it goes on to say that the woman tells them that this skull belonged to a servant of a Roman Catholic priest, and some shit went down between the two of them, and I guess some people believe that the priest killed the servant, and before the servant died, he said that his spirit would not rest until his body was taken to his native land and buried there. But instead, they decided to go against his wishes and just took his body to the churchyard of the home. And that's when everything started to go awry.
Okay.
Because again, this is back in the day when everyone just has a fucking cemetery in their backyard, right? Well, some days go by, and then all of a sudden, these terrifying screams start coming from the grave. The doors and the windows of the house shook, and none of it stopped until they finally decided to remove the man's body from the grave. And I guess they tried to bury him 4 other times.
Mm-hmm.
And each time it was a repeat of these terrifying sequences.
Shit.
So that little nosy group is there, right? And they're like, well, can we try and bury the skull while we're here? And the woman was like, absolutely not. You need to leave.
Yeah.
And so she kicks them out. But I was reading about another account of this story on realbritishghost.com, my new favorite website. And it said, quote, the story goes that a certain Azariah Penny, who lived in Bettiscombe Manor, was banished to the West Indies in 1685 for some activity connected with the English Civil War. Somehow he managed to make his way back to England, bringing with him a slave. This poor man's life was very unhappy, and mercifully he did not survive very long. His dying wish was that his body be returned to his native land. This was never done, and he was buried in the churchyard. Immediately, groans and other noises were heard coming from the grave, and Azariah was forced to remove the corpse from the grave. He stored it in the attic, and over time the body crumbled until all that remained was a skull. Many attempts have been made to remove the skull. It was even thrown into a pond once, but each time it has been returned to the house on account of the screams and groans that are heard. In 1963, the screaming skull was actually examined by a pathologist, and it was determined that the skull was actually between 3,000 and 4,000 years old, and it was from a European woman.
Oh my God.
I know, imagine
So
plot twist.
That's a man.
Some think that it could have come from the Iron Age ritual site at Pilsden Pen, which is situated near the manor house. So they don't know, like, who the skull actually belonged to, but the story about it belonging to an enslaved individual who was killed by a Roman Catholic priest is, like, obviously debunked if it's actually 3,000 to 4,000 years old.
Yeah, and they can tell that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's just one skull.
In that situation.
Oh, okay.
Next, we have the screaming skull of Anne Griffith, which is located at Burton Agnes Hall, which is an Elizabethan manor in Burton Agnes in the East Riding of Yorkshire. The home was built by Sir Henry Griffith.
A lot of Henrys. Anna Henry in your...
Obituary.
Was it in your obituary?
Carl Dean's dad.
Yeah.
So the home was built by Sir Henry Griffith, and Anne, her full name was Catherine Anne Griffith, was one of his 3 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess she was like obsessed with this house that her dad was building. It was the only thing she talked about. She was just obsessed with watching all of the construction.
My dad's got a new house.
Daddy's got a new...
Yeah.
Manna. Oh, please. Anyway, right before they finished construction on this house, she was walking in a nearby village and she was robbed and attacked. And during the attack, she was injured pretty badly.
Okay.
Over the next couple of days, she was succumbing to her injuries, and on her deathbed, she made her two sisters promise that when she died, her head would be severed and preserved and placed inside of the home.
I love her.
Which is like such a boss move.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, she ended up passing away a few days later, but when she died, her wishes were not respected, and instead, she was buried in the churchyard. Which I'm just like, let the people do what they ask.
I know.
Come on. Well, soon enough, Anne began haunting the home.
Yeah, I would too.
And they could hear screaming coming from her skull. And it got so bad, the sisters had to come together. And basically, they were like, well, if we unbury her and bring her head or skull inside the house as she had requested, maybe this will stop.
Oh.
No, maybe this will stop. So they did. And her skull remained inside of the home and all of the problems stopped.
Good. That's all she wanted.
But eventually, as years went on and ownership changed, people tried to remove the skull from the property, but each and every time they would be terrorized by Anne's spirit until it was put back in its original place.
Oh, I love it.
And to this day, it's said that her skull is embedded inside one of the walls in the home that has since been covered up so that she can forever watch over the house.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
Kind of like a Casper-esque story.
Yeah. If I would absolutely move into a house if I knew a human skull was embedded in the walls.
Oh, I
because
would
they
love
wanted
it.
to.
Yeah.
Like nothing would happen to the house.
No.
You know?
Protected.
Protected.
You think I need a camera system? No,
No.
babe. I've got a head in the wall.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the screaming skull of Wardley Hall.
Okay.
And the most common version of this story goes that the skull belonged to Father Ambrose Barlow, who was this Benedictine monk who was executed in 1641 for his Catholic faith.
Mm-hmm.
He was hanged, drawn, and quartered in Lancaster during the anti-Catholic persecutions under King Charles I. And his head was placed on display at Manchester's town gates as a warning to others.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, the skull made its way back to Wardley Hall. The skull is said to be cursed, and whenever someone attempts to remove, bury, or destroy it, all of these supernatural disturbances occur. Stories tell of storms, poltergeist activity, and disembodied screams whenever people try and dispose of it. Supposedly, the owner of the hall tried to throw it into a nearby lake, only for the skull to reappear inside of the house completely dry.
I love it.
While there is historical evidence that Ambrose Barlow was executed and that his head was displayed, there's no definitive proof that the skull at Wardley Hall is his, and the exact origins of the skull remain mysterious, but the legend has persisted for centuries, making it a staple of the whole Screaming Skulls ghost lore that takes place in England.
I love a screaming skull.
So the Screaming Skulls are really, I guess it's more of like a type of ghost story versus like an actual incident itself, but I thought they were so cool. I'd never
love it.
heard of them before.
Can you give me your
Yes.
best scream?
No.
Come on.
The camera, everything's so loud. No, I can't.
Into your...
Don't. Anyway.
Feels good to scream sometimes.
I do. I scream.
Just give us a scream. You have a good scream. Or you're too cool for a scream.
No, I feel bad for Hot Dog.
We'll go like this.
Well, that was a real scream, Madison. Let's move on to obituaries.
Okay. I have one for a woman named Mitzi. It says, "It pains me to admit it, but apparently I have passed away. Everyone told me it would happen one day, but that's simply not something I wanted to hear, much less experience. Once again, I didn't get things my way. That's the story of my life. Not really. I've had a really great life." And while on that subject, on August 15th, 1958, my parents and older brother celebrated my birth, and I was introduced to all as Mitzi. As the daughter of Jack and Alice, I can't believe I was born in the second half of the last century, but there are records in the courthouse which can corroborate this claim. But then, 10 years later, my baby sister Allison was born. She always refers to me as her much older sister,
Oh,
which then I become known as the middle sister, and my world was changed forever. There are books, movies, and wine made about the middle child. Birth order is so real.
so real. As a middle child, I agree.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You're a middle child. I'm the baby. So many things in my life seemed of little significance at the time they happened, but then took on a greater importance as I got older. The memories I'm taking with me now are so precious and have more value than all the gold and silver in my jewelry box. Wait, I don't have any. I sold it at a gold party. Sorry, kids. Memories. Where do I begin? Well, I remember Larry taking me to the Burley Bar when I was 13 years old because he was watching me. Mom and Dad found out and I got grounded. Numerous vacations with my family, my sister and her kids, vacation with cousins, which was so much fun. I knew all my grandparents. My kids growing up at the Muskingum County Fair, the Pig Barn, track season, ghost hunts, camping, 4-H, going to the wrong funeral with my best friend Patsy and staying for it, trips to New York City to buy real designer purses from basements, vans, back rooms, places I was sure we would be sold into some type of terrible lifestyle. I could go on and on. My friends from the past and present have added so much to my life. I married the man of my dreams on August 6, 1977, and from that day on, I was proud to be Mrs. Lonnie J. Shook, Grand Diva of all things domestic.
Ooh.
Our plan was to have 2 children, a boy and a girl. Inexplicably, we were successful in doing exactly that when we were blessed with our son Wesley and then later our daughter Abby. Seeing these 2 grow into who they were supposed to be brought a wonderful sense of meaning to our lives. I am leaving behind a hell of a lot of stuff that my husband and children did not know what to do with. This was always my plan. The totes. So many totes. So many colors. So if you are looking for decorations for every season, flowers, wedding decorations, party favors, glassware, pictures, antiques worth thousands of dollars, I'm sure of it, you should wait the appropriate amount of time to get in touch. One man's junk is another man's treasure. Has always been my motto. I did not live an average life. I laughed at inappropriate times. I considered myself a dancing queen. I loved life, and as an inside joke, I farted around a lot. I learned how to take my bra off without my shirt moving.
Talent.
I know. And I was always a mama bear when it came to my kids. Do not mess with my kids. Anyone wearing black will not be admitted. Boas will be provided. Love your guts, Mitzi.
Oh.
I loved that.
Love that.
Self-written, so good, so funny.
We love an autobiographical.
I know, we really do. I love the name Mitzi, too.
I have one, and this guy reminds me of you.
Fuck.
No, it's for David Poling, Mr. Honey, the gutter man, Pop Pop, who climbed his last ladder on Thursday, January 16th, 2025. But this ladder didn't stop at the eve of a roof for him to install a gutter. No, this ladder took him to heaven.
Oh, does it remind you of me because of Mr. Gutter? Or
It's the ladder.
the ladder. Okay.
David of Rochester passed away surrounded by his family after a brief battle with cancer. David was born to Dean Babe and Marie Poling on October 14th, 1964. Born at over 10 pounds, from that day on, David did everything in a big way with a big smile and a big heart. David met the love of his life, Kimberly Bassett, when he was just 15, and the two married on October 9th of 1982. And since then, David, along with his best friend, business partner, and wife, built Poling Seamless Gutters and Excellent Acres, and most of all, a wonderful family. David's interest included working on all types of projects, from construction to trucks, tractors, and farming, and especially nightly rides around the farm in the John Deere with Kimberly and his beloved poodle, Willow.
Aww.
Yeah.
Love him. Twin.
Twin. No, I thought that was a sweet one, though.
That was a sweet one.
loved him. And I just thought about your ladder incident last week
Yeah.
with Cisco, and also you have a poodle. Those are two things I know about you.
Yes. And I just have a smile on my face.
And you're typically on that ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be surprised if it didn't take you down one day.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, love it. Love an obituary. And speaking of, how are we going to transition that one?
Oh my God, guys.
Well, we've climbed our ladders.
We've screamed our obituaries.
That means it's time for some dumb
Ass
criminals. Who you got?
Okay, I was up in the newspapers.
Oh, she was in there?
And we talked about Gossip's Bridal yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And I was like just in my gossip
Era.
Okay. And I was looking up gossips that were arrested for gossiping. And I found a couple news clips that I want to read to you. Okay. And they're funny because they're from like the early 1900s. This one's from the Salt Lake Tribune, 1913. This is my favorite one. It says, "Male gossip arrested by International News Service. Marinette, Wisconsin, September 17th, the first arrest in the state under the gossip law, which was passed by the last legislature, took place today when Peter Kisowski of Niagara was arrested. He is alleged to have called Rosa Burney an unsavory name."
Oh, we'd be in jail.
Oh, we would be.
If there was a gossip law here,
We'd be executed. We would. We would be
they'd bring
multiple.
out the firing squad.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Multiple offenders.
Multiple. Daily.
Good
Daily
God.
offender. I'd probably talk shit by the time it's 9 a.m.
I know. Do you want to hear another one?
Yep.
Here's one from the Austin American in 1924. It says, "Gossip arrested," with an exclamation. "Man faces charge of circulating rumors on condition of bank."
Okay.
So this man was talking about the bank. Parsons, Kansas, April 24th. In the first instance of its kind in this county, the state law was enforced today to stop gossiping about a bank's condition. When John Grant was arrested on a warrant charging him with circulating false rumors. Arrested for gossip. I love it.
We'd be fucked.
I know.
Okay, I also actually have two today because one I saw earlier, but this one made me laugh. Okay, this was about a Florida woman.
Okay.
The headline reads, "Florida woman arrested after being accused of throwing coffee at airport staffer."
Oh, God.
The woman who was arrested at Miami International Airport after she and her fiancé allegedly attempted to force their way onto a flight and later were accused of throwing coffee at one of the airport staffers during the scuffle is speaking out in self-defense.
Oh.
In an interview with CBS News after her release from jail, the woman, Beatriz Rapoport de Campos Maya, said,
Damn.
"Nobody threw coffee. The coffee fell."
Mm-hmm.
The lady who said I threw it was a liar. It just dropped on the floor, which I feel like is such a crazy thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of, she said, "I'm not crazy. We would not throw coffee. Coffee I drink."
I kind of love it.
Uh-huh. I wish there was just like footage of them fucking. Oh, there was footage, which is what got them arrested, of her throwing the coffee.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's
okay.
wild. But okay, I have to show you.
What?
Hey ma'am, Officer Jones here. Drive-through was concerned about your well-being. He thought you might be impaired or under the influence of something.
She has sunglasses all wrong.
Is your sunglasses are on upside down? Yeah, they're upside down, so no alcohol tonight. Okay. No.
So on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being completely sober and 10 being your pass out, where you think you're at? Like an 11?
11, girl. Their sunglasses are upside down, but it kills me because then it just cuts to her wearing them the right way.
You have to be fucked up to put your sunglasses on like that.
Fucked up. Well,
I think it's that time.
I think it's that time to just tie this up
and
in a
head
little
back,
bow.
Into our graves.
Yes,
for the week.
we must retire. I have to stop screaming.
You do. You have to.
But you can catch us over on Patreon. We'll have a new episode for you most weeks.
Yes, most weeks.
Most weeks. We've been pretty consistent.
Yeah. You know, sometimes life happens.
And sometimes it doesn't.
And sometimes we lose an episode.
Yeah, sometimes we lose things. But that's patreon.com/cultleader. But that is it here for the week. Everything you want to find, you can find on obituarypodcast.com. But we'll see you next week for some more Coffin Spinners.
And obituaries.
And dumb
Ass
criminals.
criminals.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.